Get my tablet too.
Hey, all right. We are up and running on both, so I am going to go ahead and bring in our intro.
Whether you're commuting, chilling at home, or just taking a break, we've got you covered with the hottest news, fascinating guests, and the occasional surprise. Buckle up and get ready to get caught up with us.
Hello, 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 everyone. It is I, Untamed, your host, and I am joined here tonight, of course, with my lovely co-host, Miss Crystal, Miss Books and Soul. How are you this evening, Crystal?
I am great. And yourself?
I am doing pretty good. I'm okay. I'm doing okay this good Tuesday. We don't count everything joy though.
Yes.
Yes, it is all joy. And I can't help but to be excited because we have a special guest for this evening. And I cannot wait to get into this book discussion because we have some questions.
Yeah, and I need some answers.
Exactly. We have some questions that we need to answer. So,
And we need some
uh,
answers.
exactly. And we will get into our special guest of the evening in just a moment. But first, as I always say, we got to pay some bills. So I have to show some love and give a major shout out to Kiana Dene, EXO, JC, KB's Bookshelf, Tyler Landscaping, Jones Pressure Washer and Lawn Care, Women of Vision, and Black Odyssey Media, as well as Untamed Publishing. Thank you guys so much for all that you do for the podcast. We love that you give the kind of money that Jiggles and Thumbs.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for getting caught up with us. So, we are not going to prolong because this is actually our book discussion, right? So, as we know, with our book discussions, we are live here. Christy Mastermind Instagram for me because I'm toggling today.
Yes.
So, uh, we have our special guest. We jump right into it. We get into the book. We do have a few general questions today because this is our guest's first time being here on the show. So we do want to pick a brain just a little bit. But Crystal, I am going to allow you to do the honors to intro our guest in for this evening.
All righty. All right. So tonight we will be talking to Miss Yasmin Angoe. She is the Anthony Award nominated author of the critically acclaimed Nina Nights series. Actually started the first book, including Her Name is Night. They come at night and it ends with night. Not What She Seems is Ango's first work of domestic psychological suspense. Yasmin's Night series novels have been featured in the New York Times, Oprah Daily, The Guardian, Pop Sugar, and the Women's World Book Club. And the series is currently in development for TV by Ink Factory in fifth season. Ooh, I like that. Okay, so Yasmin is the recipient of the 2020 Eleanor Taylor Bland Award for Emerging Writers of Color and has been nominated for the Anthony Awards and the Library of Virginia's People Choice Award. She is a she is a proud member of several prestigious organizations such as Sisters in Crime, Mystery Writers of America, Crime Writers of Color, International Thriller Writers, and the Women's National Book Association. How can I get in those? I want to get in those.
I'll tell you all about it.
Yes, please. Helen from Northern Virginia, Yasmin Ango is a first generation Ghanaian American who grew up in two cultural worlds. She taught English in middle and high schools for years and served as an instructional coach for virtual teachers. She now writes fiction full time and freelances as a development editor. Yasmin lives in South Carolina with her husband and their 4 children. Welcome to the UP Hot Seat tonight. How are you?
I'm doing well, Crystal. Thank you for having me. You and Untamed. Thank you both for having me.
You're welcome. I'm excited about that. Yes, yes, yes.
Uh-oh.
I am
Oh,
on
no.
mute. So
So you on mute.
look, I was doing my Beyonce. Look around, everybody on mute. Okay.
Right.
So I am excited to have you. We are excited to discuss. And I'm not for sure. I think this is our first. No, but yes, it is our first book discussion on a thriller because everything else was supernatural, romance. So this is
Yeah.
our first actual discussion on a thriller, and I'm excited about it. So it is a
Me
pleasure
too.
to have you here.
Thank
I love
you.
a good thriller.
Thank
Yes,
you. Me too. And I love a good supernatural and romance too. So y'all have been talking about some good stuff.
yeah,
Oh, yes.
yes, it has been an exciting year. I always say since COVID, it's been a thrill. It, COVID really changed the landscape.
Mm,
Uh, I hate, that what happened, of course, there's a lot of negativity that happened behind having to deal with it, but a lot of creativity was birthed in that time. People were
Hmm.
at home and able to say, you know what, I want to dive into my dreams, or I want to get back to my dream, or now I just have time that I didn't have to really cultivate. And so our reading talent has just grown, and it's been some amazing stories coming from authors. Like, not that it hadn't been before, but I always say something happened after that 2020 year. Something happened, and so we are getting amazing reads from so many different people. So it has
mm.
been a phenomenal time on the podcast.
Yes.
It really has. So I wanted to hop in really quick. Um, and start with, since we are talking about thrillers, what made you interested in writing thrillers?
That's a good question. I think I have always enjoyed thrillers and uh, those kind of more edgier stories since I was young. They just, for some reason,
Hmm.
really, you know, make me happy, and I don't know why. And it could be, I don't know if it says something about what's on my brain or whatever, but I just really like to be entertained. And so a thriller can, make you scared, or just, that pulsating, like pounding of your heart, like when you're racing and trying to figure out like what's going on, and then that built tension and suspense that just really draws me. And so I just wanted to like write that kind of stuff too, and be able to, just grab everybody up by their shirt and just like keep a chokehold on them for the whole book. I try.
I definitely love that. And like when you were saying what's on my brain, because I talked to Untamed, I love thrillers,
Mm,
and that's a goal of mine to actually write one. Like my brain is warped, and you had a character in here whose brain was warped. I literally text Untamed and said she's a psychopath. I said she is a psychopath. So I love that we got to see that. And it just, it kind of reminded me. She reminded me of Jack Nicholson from The Shining.
mm,
Yes, like you did phenomenal with that. I don't
thank
like
you.
to. I don't like to do things at night, so I had to read it at work. During the daytime and at work, and like I was reading a part, and all of a sudden I was like, "Ooh!" And they was like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Nothing, nothing, nothing." So I'm just like, "Okay." So you did your thing with this one, but
You
Thank
can
you.
did.
you describe what your ideal writing session is like?
Oh my goodness, my ideal writing session
Mm-hmm.
is my ideal writing session. You see how I coughed there? Because probably my ideal writing session is not writing. That's ideal for me.
Yes.
That's really ideal. But I guess my ideal writing session, if I really have to buckle down and do it, that's why my shirt says like "Don't rush me," because that's what I'm
Oh,
like.
I like
I
that.
tell
I
that
need
to
to borrow that.
Yes, it's like I'm waiting for the last moment. And so that is my ideal writing session, is to wait for the last moment, And then I typically have, like some noise. I have to have noise on in the background. So I'll have
Right.
like the TV on. And I also need like a visual something that when I'm writing, then I'll stop and I'll kind of look over at the TV. So it's something that I've probably seen before and just like a series and it runs.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then I write like in Scrivener, and I just try to like get out. I don't write in order, so I just write whatever the scene is that just I feel, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really excited about this particular scene, because if I write something that I'm not feeling at that moment, then it's going to be boring for me and then for the reader. So I write out of order, which is why I write in Scrivener, because it's easier. So I'll try to
Right.
write in the morning. So my typical session will be, in the morning when I wake up and procrastinate as best as I can, and then sit down and write. Then up until up until I make my certain kind of word count, and it varies, and then I'll relax for the rest of the day. And if something comes to me, then I'll write again or not. So I try to give myself grace, and not force it, because again, if it's forced for me, then it's not going to be good stuff.
Right. That is true.
Right.
I like
And
that. And
you know
and
what
that
I
writing
love?
on. Oh, go ahead.
You know what I love? We are like kindred spirits in that. When you said I procrastinate as much as I possibly can, or I try to write and I think that's what I am now as a writer. Like but I do tend to write in order. I think
Mhm.
that's just how my brain works. But
Mhm.
when you said that, I was over here just kicking on the inside because I was like, oh, I know that feeling so bad. It's like I have to. I don't know. I write better. I feel like when my back is against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Me
It
That
too, me
pressure
too.
is better.
Yeah, and I always tell myself when my back is against the wall, I'm like, Yasmin, why are you doing this? Like, you had the time. I'm like so angry with myself, staying up all night, cramming these words in. And I'm like, I'm never going to do this again. And then the next time I'm doing it again. And so I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
so it is just a love hate relationship with myself. Like, I can't get right.
exactly know the feeling completely. So on that note, uh, what would you say is
Hmm.
one positive thing about writing and one negative thing about writing?
The positive thing about writing is having written, meaning once the words are down and it's done, that's the best thing. Like, oh my gosh, I did it. And then when someone else reads your work and they really connect with it, um, and have a visceral reaction, like Crystal did to one of the characters,
Mm-hmm.
then you're like, all right, like after all that, turmoil that I had while writing this book, and trying to make sure that I was getting these things, these people right, and these scenes right, to hear that someone, liked something, is the best possible gift that I can get, back for all of, the pain and suffering that I did for it.
Right.
Yes.
And then the worst thing you said, or I already answered that. Yeah, okay. And then um, the worst thing about writing is, that's a good question. What is the worst thing about writing? For me, the worst thing about writing is actually getting to the moment where I have to write. It's almost like I don't want to like gross people out, but it's like almost when you have to throw up, and like the feeling, the build up is worse than when you just do it and then you're like, oh my gosh, it's done. And so like that
Right.
feeling, that build up of I gotta go and I have to write. And so you got to go sit down, prepare yourself. You got to get your mind mentally. But once you're in there and mentally there, then the words come and you feel so great because you've written. But the getting to that moment where you have to sit down and actually write and actually think about what you're going to write, that's the worst part for me.
Yes. No, I totally get it and understand it. And I think too, sometimes when I think about it, I say, you know what? I think sometimes it's just that fear of getting it done and once it's done and it's written, it's like, you have that anxiety a little bit like, okay, this is your next baby,
Mm-hmm.
and getting it out. So it is always the pressure, I think, to continue to produce and also to continue to produce good quality work that
Mm-hmm.
that'll resonate with the readers is always kind of like the little devil angel on her shoulder, and it's like,
Absolutely.
but and it's all you just have to get over the hump. So yes, totally get that 100%. So
Hmm.
let's see, we have a few people I think here over on Instagram. Tamara writes books, Miss Remedy, Queen Hefe, Purpose Behind the Pen, Dialogue Esquire, Lila, Tamara's McNeil. Thank you guys for joining us. Other people jumping
Yes.
in. Thank you guys so much for being here and joining us. And if you guys have any questions for Yasmin, let us know.
Just know. I
Let
like
us know.
it.
So, yes, and we have a couple of other people. I cannot see you over on YouTube, but I see that you're here. So, thank you so much for joining us, our YouTubers. We appreciate you. Now, if you make a comment, I will see it. So, let us know if you have some comments or anything for Yasmin, or even some questions if you've read it. But this is a book discussion. We won't give away the major spoilers, but we're hoping you guys delved in already so that we can have a true discussion.
A little
I
bit.
see.
I'ma just say y'all need to read it. Y'all definitely need to read it. And I was just sitting here thinking, like, yeah, I told you you had one psychopath, but actually you have two. And they
Hmm.
on the
Yes,
different as they different psychopaths.
like I think
They're
one may be a little bit of a sociopath, and the other one is a psychopath.
yes,
But you
this
got a
is
lot of
true.
paths going
Oh,
on.
I have a lot of
This is
paths going on. And what's funny is there's like a conversation in the book about whether someone is a sociopath or a psychopath. And Jack is like, I think she's both, or whatever,
yeah. See,
So
I was
like,
about to say I think she's both.
yeah, yeah. And so that's
Hmm.
funny. So yes,
Yeah.
there's a
So
whole lot of pathing going on. Yes. In
yeah,
all of
but
my books, actually. Yeah.
Yes.
yes, and this psychopath was something else. We're gonna get into that. I want to read the synopsis, you guys, so you will know what this book is about. And I want to say too, this is what I love. Your synopsis, kudos. It is to the T.
Yes.
It gives you exactly what this book is about without giving you too much of what this book is about. But it is a jam packed. When I went back and because I didn't read the synopsis before I actually read the book, and when I read the synopsis, I was like, "This is a good, great synopsis.
Hmm.
This is
Thank
perfect.
you.
Like this is perfect."
Thank
So
you.
you are so welcome. Here is the synopsis for Not What She Seems, which is our book of the evening. She left home as the local pariah, but when a family tragedy brings her back, she must confront her tortured past and a new danger in town that no one seems to understand but her. After years of self exile, Jacinda Jack Brody is back in Brookhaven, South Carolina. But the small cliffside town no longer feels like home. Jack hasn't been there since the beloved chief of police fell to his death. And all the whispers said she was to blame. The chief was Jack's father. Racked with guilt, Jack left town with no plans to return. But when her granddad lands in the hospital, she rushes back to her family, bracing herself to confront the past. Brookhaven feels different now. Wealthy newcomer
Hmm.
Bay Arden has transformed the notorious War Manor into a quaint country inn. Jack's convinced something sinister lurks beneath Faye's perfect exterior. Yet the whole town fawns over their charismatic new benefactor. And when Jack discovers one of her granddad's prized possessions in Faye's office, she knows she has to be right. But as Jack continues to dig, she stumbles upon dangerous truths that hit too close to home. With not only her life, but her family's safety on the line, Jack discovers that maybe some secrets are better left behind.
They were. They definitely were. Woo.
Woo!
You read
Listen,
that really well. I should have you like reading this at other places as well.
I'm available. Call me up. I will read it. I'm telling you, this synopsis is so perfect, you guys. Man, when I tell you this book, I cannot tell you. I was over here. I told Crystal, I was like, listen. This might be a spoiler for some, but when you get to around chapter 34, I was like, baby, buckle up, and hold on tight.
Yes, because I wasn't ready. Now I can say, and I think I'll say this: if you are into psychological thrillers, if you like guess, like things like that, and I love it. I am a crime show buff. Like,
Mhm.
love crime shows. Some of the things I was like, as I'm reading, I was like, I knew it. I knew it. And literally having conversations with myself. So I love that, like, you gave us like a little pieces, like, did you catch this? Did you miss it? I love that about the book, because some of the things I was like, no, that can't be true. And then when you saw it later, I was like, oh, it is true. So that was something I definitely love. Like I said, I love the book. Like Unsane said, kept you on your toes, kept you guessing. And like I said, if you're really into psychological thrillers, please read this. I'm gonna stop talking before I say something that I don't even need to be saying, because I'm talking about the book. Yeah, let me stop.
I
And
appreciate it.
I will say, I was like, Crystal, when we were was talking about more manner, I said, oh yeah, I would have to listen to this during the daytime
Yes, yes,
because more
yeah.
manner had me
I don't do
nervous.
stuff that's creepy at night. Nope.
It had me nervous. So I want to start off with just asking you this question because you are famously known for your Nina Knight series,
Mhm.
and that is a very beloved series. How does
Mhm.
that thriller differ from this?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. And Crystal, I think you said you started Her Name Is
Yes.
Night.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So how far into it, if you can
I
recall?
started it, and then when I heard you was coming on, I stopped because I wanted to focus on this. So I, like, literally maybe the first two pages, but
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
those
okay,
pulled me in, that I'm going to go back next and pick it
okay.
back up.
Okay, because if you level a pathy character in the character in Not What She Seems, and you'll definitely find another one of them in Her Name Is Night. And so the difference
Mhm.
between the two of them is the Nina Knight series over here. They are more of an action thriller, action
Mhm.
espionage spy thrillers. So if you're
Yes.
thinking of and she has comparisons. Nina Knight has comparisons to like John Wick and Liam Neeson in those Taken movies. They compare her a lot. So those and Mission Impossible. So those kinds of things. She is an assassin. So she is
Yes.
an Ghanaian assassin. So I pull from my culture. Since you mentioned I was first generation Ghanaian American, and
Mhm.
so she is a Ghanaian assassin who an elite assassin. So she is the top assassin for her organization. She works for this organization called African Tribal Council,
Mhm.
which consists of several very wealthy Africans from different countries within Africa who are all for the betterment of the African diaspora. So they've got a really great goal. And in order to achieve this goal, they have to have a team that will take out their enemies without any problems. So this is the dispatch team, which Nina leads. And so those are the differences. Is that is action, and it is very the first book is more of her origin story, so you find out how she becomes an assassin, and I think you end up like really rooting for her. She goes on a mission of revenge when she finds out that the people that totally decimated her village in Ghana are not dead like she thought they were.
Mhm.
And her, the tribe, the council, the tribal council, they might or might not have, something to do with it. So she's got to kind of find out like what's going on, and she's got to take care of business because can't just go running free after all this. So we see that. So she's very different from Jack. And so going through that whole trilogy and writing in that vein of action thriller, very militaristic and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it's also, I think it was fun to write. And I am not someone I was married into the military, but not actual military. So
Right.
you won't get very, very technical stuff, but you still kind of get that vibe. And I love, love, love Nina. and her blades and stuff like that. But when I decided after the trilogy was done and I needed a break from coming up with the series because that's a whole lot, and I was in the world of Nina for over 5 years.
Oh
I
wow.
wanted like a palate cleanser, and I wanted to write a thriller that was a little bit more contained, a thriller that was a little bit more intimate. So, like the people, it's a smaller set of people. There's not going to be as much killing, and it's not going to be like Mission Impossible flying through the air and like skidding into a stop and shooting or whatever like that. It is a Jack is a regular schmegular girl who is like you and me, a research assistant at a college. She don't know how to fight. She don't know how to hold a gun, and all
She
she knows
don't
how to
know how to think before she speak.
she don't know how to, she's reckless. She is
Yes.
Yes.
and there's reasons for her being reckless, and,
Right.
and that is delved into in the story. And so going into that, and wanting to talk about and write about someone who doesn't have all of the training that Nina has, and how does she fare when she comes up against someone who is very evil and also very deadly, but she doesn't know it, right? Plus she has her
Right.
own demons that she is dealing with. How does she work with all of that and come up at the end? And will she stop being reckless? I don't know. She don't even know. Like, she's going through some things, and we're going to go through it with her.
And
Exactly. Oh
yeah.
my goodness. We go on a journey with Jack, and
Oh,
and I will say this.
Hmm?
She is, when you said reckless, that was the perfect word for her. For her
girl
as
drove
a
me
person, and
crazy.
her, and as Crystal said, as her mouth as well. So she
She drove me crazy.
she she was
Good.
Jack and I went through a love hate relationship because I was
Hmm.
pro Jack, and then she got back home, and I was like, "Girl, sit down, please stop doing this."
Like, girl, shut up. Like, why you already know what's going on. Just gather enough information before you keep on jumping out there. You're
I
not doing that.
I
I
just was like,
know.
I wanted to be like, Jack,
Right?
stop.
Yes.
She kept on walking into it. I don't know what she thought she was doing either, but she just kept
Yeah.
doing it.
Listen, she was
Like,
taking
it
this
was like,
armchair
oh, come over
detective a
here,
little
Jack.
seriously.
It was like, come over here, Jack. Come on, Jack. Come on, Jack. I
You
was just
guys are
like,
funny.
girl. Oh,
I know, right? We were. I'm in the whole time trying to direct her, like, okay, Jack, come on, let's have a timeout. Have a timeout. Let's come here
yes.
and convene.
Oh God.
How are we gonna solve this, girl?
Solve it. You got to do
Girl.
better. You got to think better. I know. And that was her learning, right? Because she never did
Right.
take it seriously from her dad or her granddad. And so now,
Hmm.
she's thrust into that, and she knows, you have that feeling when somebody's just not quite right. But
Right.
because of her history, and even herself, because a lot of the things she's put on herself, right? She didn't have to leave the town. No one told her to leave, but she left
Right.
because she's a runner and she runs from her problems. And so that's what the issue is when she faces, comes, face to face with Faye, is, hey, I want to run, but I can't. I have nowhere to run to, because you know why she left DC, right?
Right. Right.
She can't go back. And so she's like, I'm stuck here. And so I have to face this thing where she didn't have to face anything, 6 years ago. She left and left her family to deal with all of her mess. And that's what she's used to doing. And so now she doesn't know how to deal with someone who thinks on a different level, on a very predatory level, right? Because that's not real life to her, and it might not even be real life to me if I thought about it. How would I? And that's the things that I asked myself, like, what would I do if I came across somebody? I get bad vibes from people, but like if I knew that, like, they really could have done something, like, how do I? Because to me that's not real life, and so I think to her that's also not real life until she just made a whole lot of bad choices. But I am so happy that y'all yelled at her, because that's what I wanted. I wanted people
Oh my
to
God.
like be
I
pissed at
wanted to
her,
clock
and then
her.
to be like, go girl, and then to be pissed at her again, and to want to slap her and
Yes.
put some sense into her because
Listen, and
And
I
I like
did.
what she did to Conrad. I was
Yes,
all for that.
yes. Well,
Um,
hold on. Well, I was all for it except for the very last thing she did before she left. And I was like, now why would you do this?
Uh,
Why would
No,
you
I'm
do
glad she
this?
did it all. I'm glad she did it all. I just
But
think the knife ended
my
in the wrong
my
spot.
my thought process was you had the perfect plan. Nobody would know. And then
mm,
you did this one little thing, and I was like, Jack, Jack,
That's what I felt she always did before she thought. She didn't learn, she didn't know
yeah,
how to stop and think.
yeah.
And
yes,
one thing I can say is, and you just said it not too long ago without probably realizing you triggered this in my head, but you know how she was saying that her mother felt like she was like her dad? She was more like her mother than
Mm-hmm,
she
yes,
really realized.
mm-hmm.
yes,
And I
yes,
think her
yes.
more than her mother realized. And I think she, and at one point it was, I'm more like you, worried about me being like my dad, but I'm more like
I'm
you.
like you.
I do what you do.
Mm-hmm,
I've done what you do. So
mm-hmm.
I love that we
And
got to see that.
and we did get to see that from her mom too. So
Yeah.
you bring up that point because when her mom got triggered, that
Yep.
part of her that Jack never saw, come to fruition. Which and I guess she's actually had many years to try to figure out how to contain that part, but
Hmm.
she got triggered in it and it popped out and it was like, I've never seen this side of you. It's like this
Not
is
well hidden. Yeah.
this is where I
Yes.
get it from. But okay, while we're talking about where someone gets it from, where did you get the idea from for this particular book?
Where did I get the idea from? Well, it came from a whole lot of different things. So, a little bit of it came from like back in my teaching days. A favorite time of year that I like really loved teaching with my students was around the holiday because then I could, introduce like scary stories to them and stuff like that, going with my brand because and corrupting kids, I guess. But nobody emails me, so that's okay. But like a couple of my favorite pieces that I would teach them. One was called "The Spider and the Fly" by Mary Howitt. If
Yep.
y'all okay, so y'all know that one, and
It's
you know that it's
references.
referenced in the story.
Yes.
Yes. It's referenced.
And then the
Yep.
other one was by Roald Dahl, which is called, it's a short story called The Landlady. And
Hmm.
so if anyone has read that, both of them have like a cat and mouse kind of thing, but both of them have a person or a spider who is very, who is absolutely not what they seem to be. Very beautiful, or in the landlady's case, it's an elderly woman, so you would think that she wouldn't hurt a fly or anything like that. And and they ply the victim with compliments and flattery and all these things, and they blow up the head real big, right? And make that person put down all of their defenses while they just kind
Hmm.
of reel them in. And the person doesn't realize that they are now dinner or, the next victim, until it's way too late and they're just gone. And so those two stories stuck with me because there's that message of you really have to like watch who you're talking to, and don't be swept up by like flatteries, right, that people supply you with and like boost you up and all this other stuff, because they aren't necessarily what they seem. And how people wear all these different masks, and how we present ourselves is not necessarily how we actually are inside. I mean, it had a whole lot of things going on, for me, even having, in the workplace, because I had a particular, I guess I'll tell y'all all the tea then. I had a
That's what
particular
all of
person,
that's all of the
at
segments
one of
at.
my jobs who, definitely, said some things that she said about me that were untrue, and thought that everybody would believe that, just because she was her and she was she and I was me, or, if you kind of get those
I
implications.
already know. Hmm.
Exactly. And so
Hmm.
that is what, I thought about all those things when I was thinking about like the relationship between Jack and Faye, and not being believed because you are perceived to be like lesser than, or because you're, a black woman, or, because you're not as rich, or not as, regal in societal standards and things like that. And so I was playing on all of those, things: the spider and the fly, the landlady, my own personal like work experiences and dealing with people who, just come at you real sneaky and you just don't know until it's too late. And then you have to like be like, oh my gosh, how do I deal with this? Right.
Yeah.
So those are all the things that that kind of helped fuel this story. And I just knew ever since I taught it, I really want to do like a rendition of, that landlady, which is how More Manor, if you ever read that short story, you'll see why it's similar to like More Manor, because in that story it had a bed and breakfast and stuff like that. So yeah, those were all of my like inspirations and my, I guess, getting my aggression out in that story.
You know what I love is as you were talking and explaining it, and it was based off of Faye, but you even saw that in Conrad as well.
Yes.
He
Oh, I
also
didn't like
was
him.
a bit of a spider, and you
Very-
know, he had that. He wasn't a psychopath, but he had those ways about him. He might have had a little sociopath in him too,
I
as
think so. Yeah,
He
yeah,
did.
well.
He
So
did.
but he definitely, he was there to take advantage. And I say one thing that I admired about Jack, just to mention this about her, like she gave us a lot to be upset with her about, but I want to say that her mind's eye was open when she
yeah.
got back home because the wool had just been placed off the relief from her eyes with Conrad,
Mm-hmm.
and so she came home already in a situation where she didn't really trust anybody anyway because she was on the defensive.
Mm-hmm.
So she had this rose-colored lens that just was lifted off of her as soon as she met Faye. And it was like, no, you know what? I am not. I've gone through this already. I'm in this situation. Nobody knows about it. I'm coming home where I'm a pariah,
Yep.
at home already, and I don't trust anybody around me because I know that they don't trust me. So she had already like this sixth sense going in because she was already kind of tuned in to everyone. And as it opens up, you see it because as she's coming home, she's strategically talking about how each person she encounters is responding to her.
Yep.
So she is so wide open to everything that's going on. The littlest thing is just like she's waiting for a person to say something or look a certain way. And she often talks about, how she can tell in people's eyes,
Mm-hmm.
um, about their personality. And even when she can't, and that's scary for her because she's really good about reading people. So I love how you even implemented that part into Jack's character.
Yeah.
Because
Those small town vibes, right?
yeah,
If you live in the town that you've always grown up in, like people,
Mhm.
they know you or they think they know you, and that's the problem. And then one little thing that happens, they remember that, and that's what they attribute to you. Oh, you're that Brody girl. Oh yeah, we know.
yeah,
You remember, so that kind of stuff. So I wanted so yeah, you're absolutely right. She's coming back to town knowing that she is she's by herself, and she doesn't even know her family like that anymore, even though they love each other, they've seen each other, but she's not been in that space with them. So it's totally, yeah, she's definitely on the defense for sure.
I love that even though she did not return home those 6 years she was gone, her family still came to see her. They still interacted with her. And
Yeah.
I love that we got to see that they were still close, even though
Mhm.
they wasn't close in the town that they grew up in.
Yeah.
Speaking, I'm gonna ask like a kind of two-part question. So the first part is, did Faye already had planned that she was going to get Jack? Because it's like the way you introduce them, I'm like, did she have a plan? Because she knew this girl was coming back after, her granddad fell ill.
Hmm.
So was it like a plan, like, or was it like a on purpose? So was it planned or on purpose?
Oh, that's a good one. So with Faye, I think if we see her history, She
Mm-hmm.
really is someone, even though we hate, we hate the person. What I try to do with the bad guys is I try to give them a little bit of a duality, right? Because I don't think
Right.
anyone is inherently, bad. There are things that they do, that are bad because they make some poor choices, and they've got some
Right.
pathies going on, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but like with Faye, the thing that I think she tries is she tries to get people on her side, and she
Mm-hmm.
tries to, I think she also tries to like corrupt in a way. So she's very much like you said, that the devil on your shoulder, where she will
Right.
suggest something and she'll see if you'll go for it, and if you go for it, then you're cool with her until, but the thing is, she's never satisfied, and so you could go for it, and then she gets bored, and then she'll like move on and leave you alone. But if you cross her, because if you'll see, I think she tried to be cool, right? For a
Mm-hmm.
while, until Jack really gave her like the block when she realized what was missing, right? And she
Right.
was like, oh, no, 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 there's no way that you can have this thing, because there's no way granddad would have given it up. So that's when
Right.
Jack is like, nope, I don't believe anything you have to say. And I think that's when Faye might realize, oh, there's no way I can get her on my side. So if I can't get her on my side, then I gotta eliminate her one way or the other.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
that's how Faye rolls. She kind of gives you an opportunity to be cool, as long as it's on her terms. And if you stray
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit, as you end up learning, throughout or whatever, then it's curtains for you.
Oh my gosh.
That
So
girl was crazy.
she was she was well, we already said she was a psychopath, so
Yeah,
she was otherworldly crazy.
she was all the paths.
She was she
Yes.
was all the past.
She
I do
was.
want to ask though, for Faye, since we're on her, what I'm interested in, was she born this way, or what happened in her past to just get her to shift? Because there's a conversation
Hmm.
with her stepmom, and you get
Mm-hmm.
that she's endearing to her, but also one of those people who sees her for who she is. And I just am like, okay, well, what happened in this young girl's life that just was a flip that switch, or was she born this way? What was her reasoning? And I guess sometimes psychopaths don't need reason, but
Yeah, or it could be just the littlest thing that was just spun out of control. That's a good question as well. And I'm trying to figure out. Well, I guess I can just answer, because at this point it's kind of spoilerish. But honestly, I think if you there is a in that conversation, stepmom explains what happens to Faye's mom, right? And I
Mhm.
think
Right.
that is what, because everything boils down to, there's something that happens in all of our lives that kind of triggers things. And she
Mm-hmm.
probably was not the nicest kid to begin with. She probably had like issues, clearly, you know what I'm saying? But then at some point, when you come across, adversity, that is when you make the decision whether you're going to go down or you're going to like grow from it and move. And so she decided, I'm going to go down. So when the situation happened with her mom, and there's no more mom in the picture, I think that anger and that abandonment or whatever
Mhm.
just made everything like spiral. And so now she has no f's to give for anything. And so it's now, I'm just going to be for myself, and which is very different, right? That parallels Jack's mom.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that
Yeah,
was
because
a. They have a similarity, like you said, a path. So it's almost
yeah.
as if they both have this opportunity in life, and it showcases them. Where one takes one path and one takes the other, and then they end up crossing paths.
Mhm.
So that is a great parallel. Crystal, you were gonna say something, right? I cut you
Yeah,
off.
because one thing with Faith that I was just like talking about her mom and her growing up. It's like, okay, my mom left And you guys, I mean, I feel like she took that as a way to get away with things she wanted to get away with. I didn't agree with how the mom, how she was like, oh yeah, my door stayed locked and they wasn't allowed to come in my room. Girl, you don't pay no bills. That was one thing. And then her favorite saying, because I can.
Mhm,
Because I can.
Yeah.
mhm,
So it's like from a young age, she knew what she can and couldn't do, and she was never stopped.
mhm.
So I feel like that probably also alleviated it too, because kids like to take a guilt trip and throw a guilt trip on you, and if they see they can get away with it, it's because I can. So
Mhm.
I just feel like the dad and the stepmom could have did more. The stepmom, like she said, I know what she's about. She
Yeah.
can't do to me what she does to her dad. I love that she felt that, but like, can she? Like, because
Yep.
that girl had a lot going on.
Right. And I think also the stepmom saw Faye for what she could
Yeah,
possibly be. Right. And so the
right.
stepmom was about, look, I'm trying to live.
That's
so,
right.
so, and I mean, I'm trying to literally live. So I'm going to let her
Hmm.
do her. And as long as, because she already figured out the game, when it comes
Right.
to Faye. And Faye was a daddy's girl. And Faye's dad let her get away with everything because he felt probably guilty
Yeah.
for what mom
Hmm.
did, right? And when you were like, when she was saying, because I can and all this other stuff, if you think about it, we know, how Faye looks physically. Let's be honest, it's privilege, and it's that kind of,
Yes.
that
Hmm.
privilege that lets people think I can do and say and accuse people, other people of whatever, and
Right.
nobody is going to come for me because I look like the way that I look, and I have money, and I am, I'm me, so of course I can do it. And how dare you even try to, like, say I cannot. And so
Yes.
that's also something that she finds puzzling about Jack, because Jack is the first person, honestly. Well, no, that's true. She's not the first person to say you can't. And we
Right.
know what, ends up happening to the other people who say you can't. But
Yeah.
like when Jack is like, you can't, right? We see what Faye in real time does when someone tells her no, because she's so used to having this privilege, this white privilege,
Yeah.
this woman,
That
this
uncolored
beautiful,
privilege.
huh?
Yeah.
That uncolored.
that un that uncolored
Mhm.
privilege. Yes, she's so used to that, and that all, that all plays, and so that was all, very purposeful, because I was thinking about things myself, and I'm just thinking about, like, that is something that happens where people just, even now in today's world, where people will say whatever they want to, like on the
Yeah.
internet, right? Because they can, because they know you can't get to them through the
Yeah.
computer, but they would never say that stuff in your face, right? It's so different
Nope.
now. And so
Hmm.
that's all of those things were what I was thinking of, is this world now where people will say and do whatever the heck they want because they can hide behind their computer screen, and they don't think that someone is really going to come for them. And then the moment that someone does come for them, then they're crying, and they want to go tell on somebody and want to be a Karen. They want to, say, this person, I feel threatened by this person, even though you're the person, the
Hmm.
aggressor. So those are all the things, and that's definitely what's going on between Faye and Jack.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. And whoo, yes, Faye was a character. And I will
Mhm.
say this. What is hilarious to me is that as much as I wanted her to face her consequences, I was actually enthralled with her because I was just like, how much more can she? Some stuff to me, I was like, baby, what is your voice laced with? Because you are able to slip and slide through any of these situations, and
Hmm.
it was just so amazing to me. And I just was like, I was so enthralled with how she was able to just manipulate every situation, and she was so meticulous and strategic in everything she did. But she always did stuff in plain sight. Like it was not much hidden from her. So she was really good at what
Because
she
she
Good.
so once you do things over and over again, it becomes a habit, and it
Hmm.
was a habit, and it was a habit she couldn't break because she's been getting away with it for so long. that she could do. I mean, let's take prime example, Nick.
Li- And I just listen. Nick was
Oh, Nick.
uh, listen. I was
I knew something was
heartbroken,
fishy about him.
Did
but
you?
Yeah. I said, now something and I think what it is, and like I said, once people do it, it was the looks, it was the comments. When I'm big on, and I tell people, I worked from home for 8 years.
Mm,
So I had to learn people through a computer. So I had to learn to watch how people look like. So if I'm in a meeting, I would look at people and be like, oh, this person ain't paying attention, or this person don't care because of their actions or how they
mhm,
do things. So
mhm,
when you not around somebody physically, you can, get to know them better. But then when you tap into learning your energy and what's good energy and what's bad energy, and when you're around people, like literally, it's some, and I've said this before, it's some people at work, I'd be like, ugh, their energy ain't good.
mhm.
So, I was like, nah, it's something up with him. And then I'm gonna just go ahead and say this. Girl,
don't do no
what?
spoilers. Don't do too many spoilers. Now, don't do too many spoilers.
No, no, I'm not gonna get too many spoilers. But if you got screwed over in DC by Uncolored, why would you go back home and still deal with another Uncolored? I don't get that.
But you know what? But it's not about the uncolored on. It's just the guys that she vibes with, right? And
Yeah,
Nick is
Jordan, I
is
don't
a
want to. Right, and not even that. I feel like those two were the same people, just
yeah.
in different areas. But
See,
I
see,
sure did. I said, "Girl, one uncolored messed you up, and now you're gonna go deal with another one." Come
But,
on, like she could.
but see, Nick's her friend from like years and years and years, and so
Now,
it's
okay,
like going back to
let,
it's like
let
going back to your good comfy blanket, your blankie
no,
that you had, like that's her
no,
comfort zone. Yes.
no. You threw two. You when I say if you are tapped into certain things, you threw so many little
I
nuggets that
yeah.
people who are really into it will pick up. How you, the mayor's son? You got, and she said it. You got all these other people, and you want to be with these? That's
you
all I'm
said
gonna say.
you said all these other people.
All these. You the man's son. You got all of this. You this, but you want to hang out with us? Nah, something.
Something going on. Yeah,
Uh
but
huh.
I think for him, it Nick and her were best friends, and
Mhm.
they had she had this bond, and honestly, I understand it. She had so
Right.
many people that she could not trust. Sawyer and Nick were her
Sawyer
foundation.
was a good friend.
They were her stable. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like that was who I could see her going back to those two people because you have to have somebody. You
Yeah.
know, Penelope is her sister. So that's it, but she's not trying to bring Penelope into her mess because she's still
Right.
a protective big sister. She
Mhm.
knows that Penelope is beloved by her mom, and she's
Mm-hmm.
responsible for the things that her mom and Penelope have had to endure because of her. So
Right.
I can understand, like her going to her safe space with Sawyer and Nick, So,
Mhm.
and like I said, it would be different if it was something that was fresh and new, but they
Mhm.
had been friends like since they were little kids, and
Yeah.
so it was. I loved
It was
that.
a safety
I
net.
actually
I
love the
agree.
dynamic. So I was sitting here like, okay, let me cry a couple tears here.
Wait, I missed it. You said you love the what?
I love
I
their
said I love.
dynamic.
Yeah,
It,
that I
uh,
can agree with
True.
you there. Yeah, I did too. I'm not gonna lie, I did too. But I still was looking at him side. I was looking at him this way and this way.
Yeah, this way. You're so funny.
Yeah,
Okay,
I had
okay,
to put my
okay.
glasses down on it because, like I said, when you into that crime stuff, it's like
Yeah.
little things. It's
And
like
you're
you
supposed, yep,
suspicious
that's
of.
what you're
Like
supposed to do. Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
little
you're
things.
right. And the thing about it is, it's with with Nick and her relationship. Like I still think about it, and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of sad because it didn't have to be that way, and
Right.
right.
everything is everything that happened was really honestly an honest mistake and some misunderstandings that had people talked, right? Had people not been afraid to just, say, oh my gosh, this is what happened. And being blinded by love, because honestly, why Nick chose her and is in love with her, which you can tell from the very beginning. I mean, even
Yes.
Sawyer says, and he truly, truly is because, he truly loves her. It had, for him, it had nothing to do, with color and stuff, even though they're in the South and his dad is, a politician, and his family, so yeah, he's supposed to, go by, their standards or stuff, but he doesn't care and she doesn't care. And I think that, endears him to her and to Sawyer, because they're like, oh, this dude really doesn't care,
Right.
and so that's how they can become like that friend. But like, because he's so afraid of losing that, like he thinks that he doesn't trust that he doesn't trust her enough to think that she can understand when things are a mistake, from the very beginning, which would have eliminated a whole bunch of stuff, and things might work out or whatever. And so that's why it was really bittersweet to me. And I felt, when I felt bad when I made the decisions that I made. And, when their relationship went, the ways that they went, because even when she came back, I was like, man, like, he's really great. And oh, he's sexy. And, there's some good things going on. And, they got some good scenes going on, and stuff like that. So.
It was hard. If I almost feel like, and I even asked, I said, I wonder if it was really hard for her to make this decision, because
who, me or Jack?
For you as the author to make this decision on the way that it was gonna go, because it was such an endearing relationship, and I was just like, when I tell you, I was like, my heart just was like, oh my god, it just fell from my chest. I was like,
it was super hard. I had to think about it, when it came to me, and I was like, do I really want? But then, I was like, but I think that I wouldn't do the story or the readers justice if I didn't want anyone to just, just be like, oh, I kind of knew that was going to happen, or of course, whatever. I wanted it to be and I so how that line, kill your darlings and stuff like that, and Nick was really a darling, for me. I actually really, really liked him, and I just think he was put in a very hard place, and so yeah.
I don't know about that.
I feel you on that. Look, we share that. I'll say
we are here, Crystal. We're some.
Yeah, y'all are there. I'm
she said no to Nick.
Yeah.
So I do have one question though.
I'll let you deal with. I just want to tell you my favorite character.
Okay.
Is the character that wasn't in a book. And you probably know who I'm talking about.
Was it someone from the past?
Well, yeah.
I mean, okay.
Okay.
Because do you think you know? Okay, was it from Faye's past?
No.
Or
Jack's past.
Huh?
It was from Jack's past.
From Jack's past. Her dad?
Yes.
Oh, you liked her dad? Oh.
And because I like, I'm big on people who love people regardless. And that man loved his family regardless. So I was kind of sad, that he was taken away. And then he was young.
You said what?
He was young.
He was young.
Yeah. He was young. So, but yeah, he was just my favorite character. I love how we got to get little back pieces of him and her relationship with her dad, her granddad, the mother's relationship with him, like how that was her world. I mean, he was wrong for what he did, but because now let me tell you what I
Hold
said,
up.
now wait a
We can't
minute.
we can't get too many spoilers. We can't get too many spoilers about the baby.
I won't get
She's
the
about to
spoiler.
spoil everything Untamed.
No.
If we're gonna go there, just
I was just shocked. I was shook. I'm not even gonna
yeah,
lie. I said, now wait a minute.
yeah.
But other than that, to me, I'm gonna say he was my favorite character.
So,
Yeah.
well, my favorite character is actually, and I'm gonna tell you why this person was my favorite character. My favorite character was actually Jack's mother because I hated her mother. I hated her mother, and then as the story progressed, by the end, I was just like, you know what, Mom, you are all right with me.
Yeah.
I agree with you there. I agree with you
I
there.
I loved her mother by the end, and what I love about that is that I am my thing is with characters. A lot of times, it's hard for them to redeem themselves to me, even if they have redeeming qualities.
Mhm.
And I'm just kind of like, you know what? Yeah, I know, but I still don't like you, And so that's how I tend to be. Like, yeah, I'm always pretty like a first impression type of person, and so
Right. I
I
just
love.
see that more from Crystal than from you because she's unyielding with our Nick, and you're like, but I love him, and and now Mom, but I love her.
You got
And I
one
think
time.
I'm like that either way. So if I love you from the start, I'm
Yeah,
probably gonna love you all the way through, even if you show yourself faulty. And
right,
then if I don't like you from the start, I'm probably gonna dislike you the whole way through,
right,
even if
right,
you
right.
And that's why I said Monte MJ. That's why I said MJ.
MJ. Yeah, he's
Yep.
yes, yes. I'm glad you said that about Mom though, because that was absolutely by design. Other people might have been by accident and came, through through my write, as I'm writing, their character kind of evolves, right? But Mom, I knew, I was just thinking of, and you live in Georgia, so like the perfect Southern belle and all, and
Yeah.
Jack and Jill, debutantes, right? And always trying
Mhm.
to put on airs and be, and you don't ever know. And Jack, of course, doesn't understand why is she always like this, right? And so Mom also is not what she seems, right? Because there's a reason why she has become this way and what
Right.
she's trying to prevent for Jack because of her history. And that's when you said that Jack is just like Angela, her mom. Absolutely, because
Yep.
Angela might seem quiet and dainty, but she's been through some stuff and she's had to do some stuff, for the sake
Mhm.
of family. And you see that at the end when Jack makes a decision to keep some things from her mom because she knows she doesn't want to break any perceptions that her mom may have
Right.
of those people that she idolizes without giving spoilers away, people. But
Right.
you
Yep.
two know what I'm talking about. Anybody else?
Yep.
So Jack gives, for the gift that her mom gave her in the decisions that she made in the past, life, right? Literal life. Jack is giving that back by keeping that thing to herself, and she's going to keep that burden so that she doesn't hurt her mother anymore because her mom doesn't have to have that broken vision of the person or people that she idolizes the most. I'm going to let her go in peace with last thoughts, and I appreciate that. If wanted that full circle moment for Jack and for Angela to have that, we understand. And then also if you're parents, or even if you're not parents, but you keep things because you're trying to protect people, right? From things. I wanted that relatability of, sometimes you don't tell your closest friend the entire truth because you're trying to spare her feelings. If you're a parent, you don't tell your kids, certain things about, how ratchet you were as a teen or in your 20s because you trying to you trying to teach them better than that, and stuff. So,
Exactly. I love it. And that's why I say I am typically it's hard for me to like change my opinion.
yeah.
But she was the one character who I was just like by the end of it, I was like, she made me love her mother. And I love that you were able to do that, that you were able to just pull me in. Pull it when you guys read it, you'll totally get it. So pull me into her world and
Yep.
just allow us to take that journey with her. Um, to bring and actually I think too part of that for her mom was actually she healed throughout this process too, and she didn't think that she would, like
Mhm.
her whole
Yeah.
thing was she was content with her life. And
Mhm.
she didn't realize, I don't think she had a realization that she still needed to heal for some things too.
Yeah.
And so I think bringing her through her journey through Jack
Yeah.
is something that it was such a rewarding, ending to that with her and just seeing how after that how she had evolved. And I
Mhm.
was just like, okay, mom, all right. I
Mhm.
was like,
That generational trauma has finally been broken, right? So it doesn't have to be
Right.
passed on, which was definitely something else that, I was also thinking about stuff that our moms or us, we go through, then we tend to, put that on, project that on our kids. And so, so yeah, yay, I'm glad you like her. I liked her in the end too. I didn't like her to begin with. So
And
we
you
were
know
all
what's
on the
funny?
same journey, except for with
Yes.
Nick. Me and Untamed, not you, Crystal, but
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, he disappointed. I'm disappointed. Mm-mm. Nope, 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 no.
oh boy, funny.
I must say, I think Untamed is a little frozen.
Okay.
Just a little, just a little. But I have a question. Oh, yep, I have a question. So, what happened to the mayor?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't think that far. He's
You
got
didn't
some.
think that
I
far.
don't know. He's in double turmoil. He's probably stepped down. He has to go sit and think about his life a bit because
Yeah, I think
he's yeah. Mhm.
I would hope he would. So can you? I would love to know more about Mara, like, or even Sawyer. Do you see yourself like maybe touching on a story for them
Okay, for Sawyer and for who else?
and Mara?
Okay. Did I touch on the story for I don't know. And I hadn't thought of it. I considered touching on a story from Granddad's point of view. I thought that his
Ooh,
exploits would have been very interesting, especially his exploits, on scene when it came to Faye back in the day or whatever.
yes,
I
yes,
thought about that question of that you had about if Faye was always like this or like what is the
yes,
case. I was like, that would be something interesting to explore, because I'm a why person. I like to know why people are the way they are or things happen the way they happen. So I like, a bit of more backstory so I can really understand how we got to this place. Um, I never thought about Sawyer. I do like Sawyer. I think she's hilarious and like a breath of
she
fresh
is.
air. So she would
Hmm.
definitely she and especially Jack together, they would be like a funny, awesome team if they like just kind of went out like road trip and just fell into some hot
Thelma and
mess.
Louise.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah. So yeah, I hadn't, but I'm gonna have to write that down. Moira and Sawyer and
Sawyer.
see. Yeah, I see. I thank
Yes.
you. I like that. Some characters have stuck with you in the sense that you want to see more from them. That's awesome.
And I'm gonna tell you who else I wouldn't mind seeing because we just talked about it when you were saying see where Faye came from and like how did she get that way? Like, did she leave where she started out at and ended here in Brookhaven? Like, where was she at in between? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like,
Yes, because there is
yeah,
definitely a story there. Yeah, and I had a bit of it, and then the book became too long, and I had to like
right,
because I was like it we definitely would need to know because this isn't her first rodeo, right? And so this is
right.
right.
her
I
MO
figured.
where she's kind of gone, and it kind of like if you think of like a Black Widow spider, she knows how to pick the rich people and kind of embed herself until she has taken whatever she wanted to take. um and then she kind of goes away, and I think that maybe even someone, it could have been her stepmom, in made she's kind of like a locust, right, with the plague.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of goes and she will take everything and decimate everything, and then she'll move on to the next field and next crops and stuff like that. And so I think that her story is really, really interesting. And then I also was like, you know what, not to like spoil the end or whatever, but like, what does happen to Faye after all this? Like,
Yes.
She's a very smart lady. Can she be confined? I don't know. She's
That was
really
my
smart.
question. That was my thought too. I was like,
I don't think so.
can she be confined? What is
Can she
going
be
to happen?
confined? And right. And so I purposely, made it where, the ending with her can be a little bit ambiguous, even though they do say, what has happened to her, but things can go astray because
She's
is
a psychopath.
she's got that silver tongue, right? Like she can speak her way out of anything.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. They need to
So
do an episode of Criminal Minds on her.
Yeah, I know that's right.
listen, speaking into existence.
Yeah.
But I want to know, and this has been such a great discussion. Like we go on and on and all night, but I,
Yes.
I love this book. I highly recommend it. It was a great psychological thriller, and like I
It
said,
was.
the build up was so great, and then it was like as soon as you got to the top of that roller coaster, it was like woo, strap in. So
Mm-hmm.
because we are in for a ride here, folks, all the way to the end. But I do want to know, like, once readers pick up your book, what is the takeaway that you would love for the readers to pull from your life?
From this book in particular, what do I want? I want them to just be thoroughly entertained and to go through all the range of emotions that the two of you went through. Like I want
Yeah.
them to be so angry with Jack's choices, but then to also understand why she would be reckless with her decisions and with herself. Because she is really on a self, she's got a lot of guilt, and so she is actually doing all this as punishment to herself,
Mm-hmm.
self-mutilation kind of thing. She's always punishing herself, and so she very much knows that she's making wrong decisions on purpose. I want you to be mad at mom, and to really feel some kind of way about Faye. So I want all of those ranges of emotions, and to be so entertained and to go on that roller coaster ride, like you said, and down that big old slope at the end. So just thorough entertainment that just makes you clutch your pearls and have you sip some sweet tea, because that's what you have to have when you drink this, or maybe something stronger. I don't know.
I mean, vodka
Dealing
is
with
always
Faye,
good
you
in
might need
sweet
something
tea.
stronger.
Vodka is very
You can
good in
have a
sweet tea.
spiked Arnold Palmer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Listen, and I will say this before we get ready to close out. Now we talked about our most beloved characters, so I'm going to say this, Crystal. I think we know who you hated the most. We know who you hated the most. Here's who I hated the most:
Okay.
the
Mm.
new chief. I couldn't
Oh,
stand him.
yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't stand him. He to me, I was like, you know what? To be a chief, you are about as dumb as
He's useless, right?
But you want to know what was his
I
saving
can't
grace
for
for me, Nick?
nothing.
She said he looked like Patrick Dempsey, so that was his saving grace for me.
Listen, no,
How
I
could you
was
be mad at Patrick Dempsey?
How could
listen.
you be mad at Nick? Nick was a good looking guy too. I don't know what
He was
comparison I gave
no,
him,
because
but
he was
like,
a he. I did not like that.
okay,
Listen, he he may have looked like Patrick Dempsey, but he was no Patrick
there's
Dempsey.
no
But he
Patrick
wasn't no Patrick
Dempsey.
Dempsey. Mm-mm. Nope, nope, he wasn't. Oh,
But
but you
yeah.
want to know who else was an excellent character?
Mhm.
Mrs. Harris.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
She
She
was a
was.
Yes,
breath of
yes,
fresh
she was a breath of
air.
fresh
She was
air.
a yes. I loved her.
Mhm.
I loved
Mhm.
her.
I,
Mhm.
and I
So
will
yeah.
say this. I will say this. I don't know. Maybe you just have a gift with me or something. I also slightly grew a little affection to Patrick. at the end.
Okay.
I was like,
That's who got on my nerves the most.
because
More than Nick.
Patrick, I wanted to come through the book.
Yes.
Patrick now. More so than the chief. I just did like the chief was just I was just like, you know what, you're the dumbest police officer I've ever seen in my life. But Patrick, I won't say it, but you know what he did, and I was just like, now you know what you cannot do this. you can't do this. I was like, I can.
But I can. But I
Oh, that
can.
Patrick, I know.
Yes.
But I
I
can. So I gave him a little bit. I was like, okay. By the end, I was like, okay, he got right. He's all right.
He would do a little bit, but yeah, he was,
Yeah.
he was just that annoying
Yes.
brother-in-law to be that just really,
He
yeah.
was sickening sweet. But can I just say, I want to shout out the narrator. I can't remember.
Yes.
Like the narrator, phenomenal job.
Yay.
When I
Yes.
say Faye's voice irritated my soul, but she delivered it so well.
She
I
was
mean, like I feel like she just like, oh, I can't stand this girl. So let me
Listen,
just. I mean, the
she
narrator was phenomenal. She did an
she
excellent job.
embodied like that
Yes,
person
yes,
who that snooty person with
yes,
that Karen voice. She oh but Jack. I was like, oh my
yes.
god.
yeah.
Like, she nailed it. She really did, and I'm glad you said that, Crystal, because I almost forgot. I wanted to make sure that we got that in. Then she narrated did a phenomenal job.
Phenomenal
Yay.
job.
I'm so glad
Yes,
because when I heard her sample, I was like, oh, absolutely. That was the voice that I wanted for Jack. Young
yes,
and also, very inquisitive and stuff and fresh and stuff. And then for Faye to have that voice, and we all know that voice of that person who just thinks that they are everything and imagine,
yes.
and it's just sickening, and you just know that they're just fake as everything, and
Yep.
they just,
Take it
yeah,
with
good
these
deal,
take it
yeah.
with $2 bill. I even liked her voice for Mama. I liked her voice for
Yes,
Pen. She did a phenomenal job
she
as
did,
for all of the characters. She did an
bringing
excellent
all of the
job.
characters to life.
Yes,
She really truly
yes.
did. It's
Yay.
I think the one that was over the top that I can say that I think the consensus is for Faye. Like
Oh,
if she did nobody else, like she did everyone justice, but if she didn't do anybody else justice, oh my
it was,
gosh,
She
Faye
yes,
would
must have had a Faye in her life or something to have done it.
yes,
That
she seemed like
yes.
she had a Faye in her life, or that she had just recently dealt with the Faye in her life
Mhm.
because she had Faye down to the T. And I was
To a T.
like, oh my goodness. But I want to give you the opportunity here to just let everyone know where they can purchase your books, where they can follow you, anything that you have upcoming. This is your time to shine.
My time to shine. Well, thank you, thank you. So you can find me on IG, which is Yasmin Angoe, author underscore Yasmin Angoe. Sorry, I'm on Twitter at Yaz A Writer. And then there's my website. Once you read it, and if you want to email me and tell me what character you love or you hate, and hopefully you'll love Nick too, and we'll just let Crystal be the only one. No, just
Nah.
that's the look. That's the look about
That's
Nick.
the look. Yep.
Yeah, and that's where you can find me. You can get Not What She Seems at any bookstore. Order it from Amazon if you want, or your favorite bookstore, bookshop.org. So you can find it anywhere books are sold. And I also think that you should also listen to the audio so that you can hear the wonderful narrator and get all up totally immersed in the story, but also have,
Yeah.
if you get the hardcover, I don't know, did you open up the hardcover? Because the publisher
Yes,
made like the inside part, like, yeah, so look.
yes, I
And
love
so the
Because
publisher
on
did
the
a little
cover,
some. Yeah, so that's where, and I just really appreciate y'all having me and everyone reviewing and really enjoying, the story, because I was nervous it being, my first domestic suspense after all of the Ninas. And so I really appreciate that everyone got everything that I was trying to put in there and really, really felt some kind of way about the characters, because more than anything, I want people to connect or really hate, certain characters that makes them, want to read the story even more. So I appreciate all the support.
Well,
You
I
are
would
so
say this.
welcome.
Thank you.
For someone who would love to write a psychological thriller, I will definitely take notes. I will follow what you did, how you did the characters, how you did the book. Like, this was excellent. I
Thank you.
thoroughly enjoyed this. And like Untamed said, I did not read it at night because I wanted to be able to sleep all night. So yes, I don't
Yes.
do scary stuff at night because I want to go to sleep.
I know that's right. I know that. And I didn't even think about it. That was another. Remember when y'all asked me what else out of the story, out of that story I could even do? To me, I was like, you know what? I'm really, really like obsessed with Moore Manor, or Murder Manor as it's
Yes.
called. And I was like, I would, and then the little bit of history that they say has happened. I was like, I would love to write like a spin-off that focuses on Moore Manor and the caretaker, and how that whole thing, how it got its name and stuff like that. I think that would make a great
Please
horror.
do.
So.
Please do it.
Yes.
More, I was so interested in More Manor, and I just love the
Yes.
way you tied that in at the end with their particular situation
Mhm.
what happened in More Manor. But I think that it does carry where you can
Over
totally
the
do a spin-off.
years, like from when it started to like maybe it's so say if it started in like the 1800s, like how was
Mhm.
it then? And then the 19. Oh my gosh, I would love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I've got it on my board over there. So like that's like a little like thing of a love story, not a love story, but like a story that I love, that I would absolutely love to take, because even when I was writing it, I was like, I'm actually really interested in this More Manner, which is funny because I'm creating it, right? And I'm like, I should know this.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm actually really interested in finding out like more about the More Manor and how it came to be this way, and like the caretaker and what that person was doing there and all of that stuff, So yeah.
We will
Mm.
definitely keep watch. If you do decide to write it,
I'll
um,
let you.
Yes.
let us
Let us
know, because
know.
we will definitely be on it for the book. We'll have to have you back because we'll definitely want to talk about War Manor, um,
Yes.
and just all of the things that comes with this. It will be another one that I'll be reading during the daytime.
During the daytime, I know that's right.
Definitely, probably like at the crack of dawn. As soon as the
Exactly.
sun is up.
Exactly,
Right.
because it was very interesting, but I do love it. I love the concept. So I listen, I'm all for it. I'm excited for it.
Me too.
I am excited for it.
Yay.
Well, I want to say thank you so much, for
Yes.
joining
Thank
us
you.
here tonight to
Thank you.
discuss Not What She Sings. You guys, please make sure that you follow Yasmin, follow her works, actually get into her Nina Knight series as well. Pick that up, and like she said, she described it. If you came in late, go back and listen to all that she
I love a
said.
good
You know,
espionage. She said it's
the
a cross between John
espionage.
Wick and Taken with Liam Neeson. So I
Mhm.
love stuff like
Listen,
that.
and
Mhm.
I am a huge John Wick fan, Liam
Yes.
Neeson fan. So it is definitely up my alley. But this was such a phenomenal book about Jacinda and Moore Manor and Faye Arden and her mama, like all of these interconnected stories. It was a phenomenal
Yes.
job. You did a beautiful work, and
Thank you.
we're so excited to have you on here tonight to talk about it.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you.
you.
Thank you for having me. And Crystal, if you have any questions when you're writing your thriller, always hit me up. I'm
Oh, thank
happy
you.
to
I
talk.
sure will. Yeah, my mind is warped, so it's gonna get crazy.
And and I can attest to that. Yes, I have witnessed some of her ideas,
Oh
and
my.
she does have a work mind as well.
Oh.
She,
I
if
had my
she
friend
starts,
drawing
I will
something for
definitely.
me, and she literally, I told her what I wanted, and she looked at me and asked me, "Was I okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good."
like,
just draw it.
yes, we're like, are you okay? Yes,
Mhm.
but I
Yep.
think to
I
be
said,
an
yeah, just
author,
draw it.
I think to be an author or a creative, you have to, I always say, it's a little bit of crazy in all of us.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Even if you don't write thrillers, it's developing these worlds and these characters in our mind. I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's good crazy though.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
You got to
It's
be something with any kind of genre that you're writing. You have to
good
be a little out there.
out there.
Mhm.
So I love it. I absolutely do. But Crystal, let everyone know how they can connect with you.
So on Instagram, I'm Books and Soul One, and on TikTok and Facebook, I'm Books and Soul. I need to start posting a little bit more. I don't have time like I used to. That's the problem.
Mm.
I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it
You'll
out. I'm gonna
you'll
get it
get
together.
there. We'll figure it out.
I'm still reading though. I am reading, but I'm gonna figure it out to get that posting together.
Yes. And you can follow me. I am at Author Untamed on Facebook, on Instagram,
Mhm.
also on TikTok as well. And please make sure you are following the social media pages for the podcast at Get Caught Up Podcast on Instagram, on TikTok, and also on YouTube. And there's a Facebook group, Get Caught Up Author Podcast, in the group where we share tips, all of the things that are going on the podcast, jokes. We have fun in the group. Our Friday finds, our Saturday, I get what is it? Get caught up and
Get
chill
up and chill.
Saturdays.
Yep.
So
Oh
we
yes, we about to bring that back. It's about to
yes,
be cuffing season.
yes, we are about to do that. So we have plenty of fun there. And please, please, please make sure that you come back on Thursday night at 7 p.m. live. We will be doing our live book review of The Oath and the Author by T.M. Richardson. And we will have our special guest,
That
Miss
you
Lacey
won't tell
Laurel.
me.
No, we have Lacey Laurel. We have Lacey Laurel, the special
Okay, I
guest
know
host.
about that.
So
Hmm.
she's the narrator for The Oath and the Offer. We're going to be doing our live book review of it. And we have a special surprise, which I still have not told Crystal yet. What are
Oh.
a special
That's okay. That's
surprise
okay.
on that day. And then we have coming up in September, we have our author interview with Bianca Abba, Khadijah Butler, and we have our book of the month discussion, Screwed with Nicole Falls. And our narrator of the month, I'm excited, is Mr. Midnight Michael. He will be in the building with us. So just make sure that you tune in. We'll hit you with all of those September dates as we approach a little bit closer. But as always, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast as well and follow all of us, me, Crystal, Yasmin, and the podcast on social media. So
Yes,
again, thank you, ladies, so much. It has been so much fun tonight.
it was. This was
Thank you.
great.
Oh,
Definitely, I love it.
yes, and we have a new closer. So instead of me saying what I usually say, I am going to play our new closer. That
Oh,
was
did you play the new opener too?
I did, and it was gifted to us by our last month's narrator of the month, Mr. Mark Wheeler. So thank you, Mark,
Thank you,
so
Mark.
much for our opening and closing. You did a phenomenal job. So I will say good night, but I will play the new closer for you guys.
Thanks for getting caught up with the Get Caught Up podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, or iHeartRadio and leave us a review. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Get Caught Up Podcast.
They
Remember,
didn't want to play it. It's okay.
Let me see if look. Let me see if I can. Which one is it?
um, it says closing two under the song.
Okay, let me see if I can find it.
Should be the very
Oh,
last one.
I got it. Let's see.
let us know what you think about the show. See you in the next episode. Thanks for getting caught up with the Get Caught Up podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, or iHeartRadio and leave us a review. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Get Caught Up Podcast and let us know what you think about the show. See you in the next episode.
That was nice.
Thank
Yes,
you.
love it.
Love it.
All right, y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
like
you.
we
Thank
moving up.
you. We are.
Citizens, okay.
I love it. I love it. I appreciate everyone in our community, and also the listeners, the viewers who tune in. Thank you guys, everybody who's on YouTube and on Instagram that was popping
Yes, thank
in.
you guys.
You guys, so many people joined, and I didn't get a chance to say, but everyone said hello.
Thank you. Hey,
Everyone
everyone.
said hello. So thank you guys so much for tuning in week after week. We definitely appreciate you. But until next time, don't forget to get caught up. Good night.
Good
Bye, y'all.
night.